I was 27 when I decided I was going to start stripping. And I still don't really know why I made that decision. I'm talking to you today as Maria Meschi, but you're a very special audience because usually when I talk about stripping, I'm going under the name Brigitte Petite, which is my burlesque name, the girl with the plus size voice. Having a stage name is really important in burlesque. It gives you an opportunity to let the audience know what to expect just from hearing your name. And it also gives you a level of mystery and defense against the general public, because there are people, and there are probably some people in this room, who don't really agree that most people should be out stripping and entertaining people that way. I attended an open audition for Angel Burlesque's Aaron Morales. It was a St. Patrick's Day themed burlesque show. And the audition was primarily a dance audition, which makes sense. Burlesque is a dance art form originally. And I was pretty terrified by that. I actually have been performing in musical theater my whole life. At 15, I went away to an arts boarding school and studied theater, including dance every day for 3 years. I studied dance every day for 3 years, and it still horrifies me because I never really got comfortable with it. So I spent this time in this dance audition kind of watching the corners of my eyes, making sure that I was doing the same thing so that when I went to notice that everyone else is doing this, or like I'm so happy doing this, and then I see we're all going the other way. It was scary, and when they broke us into small groups to watch us for the real audition part, I messed up really hard. But if I learned anything in my very expensive 3 years of theater education, I learned to smile and get through it, and that's exactly what I did. We were also invited, if we had another talent like singing, to bring that to the room, and not to be immodest, and I actually almost sang for you today. I'm kind of glad I didn't. But I can sing. I mean, I have like also a big belting to the back of the room. How did that sound come out of that small woman kind of voice? And so maybe so I was not nervous about the singing audition. I knew no matter what I did in that dance room, I could sing. When I got nervous again was filling out the audition form, because at the bottom there was this little tiny line that said, "Ladies, are you comfortable stripping to pasties?" And I said, "I don't know, am I?" And so I took a deep breath, and I decided that if I was going to do this, I was really going to do it. And so I said, okay. 2 days later, I got a call from the director of the show offering me a part of it, and I was excited. And she offered me a solo, which was going to be a singing and stripping number, so I knew at least that whatever was going down here, this would be fine. Gotta have a gimmick, right? So she asked me to be in the opener, which it turns out was a group number, and it was a heavy dance number. And I thought that she was maybe a little bit crazy, but I didn't know her at all at the time. And I had no real reason to doubt her. She was a successful director, so I figured if she trusted me, I could trust me. And I said, okay, that I would do it. And also kind of giving myself a back door out, which was if I totally screwed up at the first rehearsal and she wanted to cut me, I would be okay with that. That would be fine. That first rehearsal might have been scarier than anything else in the process of putting this show together. The group, it turned out, was the troupe founder, another one of the heads of the troupe, dancer from Dance Kaleidoscope, who was choreographing the piece, a former Las Vegas showgirl, me. I did exactly what I did that audition. I was watching them and trying to learn. I can move, I have moves, I just can never remember what's going on next. And it became kind of obvious that she wasn't going to cut me and let me out of this piece. So I called upon one of my mantras that has seen me through a lot of stuff, which is just don't be the worst thing on that stage. So I just worked my butt off, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. I can still see in the video of that routine that yes, I am peering out of the corners of my eyes, making sure that I'm doing the same steps as everyone else. But I think if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't know. So it's fine. Putting the solo together was a completely different project. We were asked to come in with ideas, and as a confession, I had never been to a burlesque show before. I auditioned for one. So all of and tired. Like, one of my ideas was an idea that they had just done in the show previous to the one that I was in. So luckily for me, my director said, hey, I have this idea. Do you know the song Show Off from the Drowsy Chaperone? And I was just like, no. She's like, no, it's really cute. I think you should listen to it. I think you'll like it. And it turned out to be absolutely perfect for me. The song, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is sung by a starlet, and she's saying over and over how she doesn't want to show off. She doesn't want to show off. And then she just goes and does all these crazy tricks and all this vocal pyrotechnics and just, shows off the whole time. And in that number, the character of Brigitte Petit was born. Brigitte Petit is a cheeky narcissist who's a little too smart for her own good, which those of you who know me at all, yes, that's a mirror a little bit. It gives me an outlet for that side of my personality. So when I was putting this routine together, by the time I got to the show, I had added so many tricks and complicated pieces into this. There was dancing, there's a synchronized swimming bit, there's a math problem, there's reciting Shakespeare, and my favorite part is there is a moment when it goes to blackout and there is applause blinking on my butt. So by the time I got to that, I didn't have time to really be nervous about the stripping. I was too worried about just getting through it. And so I didn't have time to think about the fact that I was about to be like 95% naked in front of a big giant room full of strangers, and they were going to be looking at this body, and this body and I have had a complicated relationship my whole life. I don't think I see in the mirror what other people see when they look at me, and we kind of historically have not sought out other people who see the beauty. So the big reveal in this number comes at a false ending. There's a surprise encore when I do this act, and even now when I still do this act, I just did it last weekend. I am so focused on getting to the costume change and back out on stage for the encore that I didn't really have time to think about that, and it just completely didn't even occur to me that it had happened until long after. And it wasn't until the final reveal, the big encore, pose moment, that I was like, oh, I'm kind of naked right now. And you know what? They were cheering. They were really happy. They loved it. They loved the whole routine. They loved the costume and the singing, the dancing, and the body. And I have never felt more from any audience in my whole life. And like I said, I've been performing my whole life. It's like 400,000% more pure distilled adoration from a burlesque audience than from anyone else. And I told you I don't know why I started to do burlesque. I know that chasing that high, that adoration, was the reason I did it the second time, the third time, the fifth time, the 10th time. But now, it's about 2 years later, and several people have asked me lately, why do I keep doing it? I think that there are two main reasons why I do it. One of them is I have complete creative control. As an actor, I spend a lot of my time at auditions trying to prove to directors that they want this particular 20-something, not these 15 other 20-somethings that could easily play this part. There's no one else who can be Brigitte Petit. That's all me. The second reason I do it is a little harder to explain. I'm a good girl. I've always been a good girl. I never got in trouble. I never smoked, never drank. I always got great grades. No drugs, none of it. And it was always the consequences of those choices that kind of kept me being good. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that I don't really care. I'm still a good girl. I'm just a good girl who also takes her clothes off to entertain people. So I'm kind of just sticking my middle fingers up in the air and saying, no, fuck you, I'm this too. And obviously, this process has pushed a lot of my personal boundaries. It certainly pushed my family's boundaries. I have a wonderful husband who I think doesn't quite still understand why I do it, but he at least supports and accepts that I do it. And I hope that this is my own little tiny way to kind of kick at the boundaries of what a woman is allowed to be in our society and say, be whatever we want. Yeah. So now I'm 30 and I'm a stripper.
Get out that easy. Just give us a Brigitte.
Okay, I'll sing you the encore from that number.